And yeah, okay. That's oh, that. Oh, that's probably. I believe I should be streaming on X well right now. It says I am. I want to verify all three services though, which I was having an issue with Twitch yesterday. They couldn't do it. Oh, so that was one reason, I guess. I just didn't hear. So I'm on Twitch now. Yeah. Oh, I might start up this Chrome. There you go. I basically am doing this today, especially since I did the video I want to talk about for Mudahar. Yes, and just make sure I'm streaming YouTube as well. Make sure I'm streaming it even X. I don't actually know how to do that. Verify. Hmm. Love to do this. Because in OBS right now, it does show my multiple output plugin. It does show I've been live for 3.5 minutes. I am sending 10 kilobytes a second. Or, yes, 10 megabytes. So it does say I am streaming there. I just like, I can't verify it right. I have no idea where to find it because it's not like Twitch. I can just go to Twitch and I did be a studio. That's it says I have no broadcast. I already created the source. Why not redo it? is. Okay. Started it. Really. Hmm. Okay. The error generating preview though. One thing is, I mean, it says there. It says definitely have it. No, the want to first off, or actually, this is. I guess I haven't started it. You know. It doesn't even say I'm live on YouTube. Is that? No, it does. No, well, it has an error. I don't think it's using. I wanted to use for TMPS. Don't think it's quickly using. Nope, else then not using. Oh wait, different stream key. Different key. This is like third different one. Nope, still hasn't. Schedule. great news source, I guess. Already done this. Okay. Successfully created it. But this new stream. Okay. Start. Okay. I'll tell you. It's actually working. Did like supposed to. Okay. Two favorite websites here. Basically, this is the one I was going to talk about. Um, I didn't watch it all, so I kind of watched it to like 7 minutes or something. Kind of want to watch it all the way through now though. So we will see. I do want to know in X. Okay, yeah, that works. You'd have X chat as well, I guess. Then here, but always good at least if somebody know about it. Okay, X a little bit fine. Okay, do gotta actually YouTube do just to make sure it's still running correctly. It is, but okay. Now I kind of wanted to talk about Buzz. I don't remember exactly, but it. I was literally talking about Graphene OS just yesterday, and this is no, not this. One. This is part of it, but it's not what I'm thinking about. See, I mean, even right here, it's Graphene, but huh? We're gonna go here. I did see Lewis Rosman. He actually said he's never gonna use it again. Might check that out eventually, but this is the one I was talking about right here. Yeah. So, kind of backstory is there's some Belgian person who is in trouble for attempted murder. Apparently, I guess we can just start it here or something. I cannot read that, so I have zero knowledge in Dutch. Or even Belgium. I don't know what they speak over there. I forgot about this part. Oh,
to name what
yep, sorry.
what the crime could be,
Chrome
right?
wasn't even on.
So, a quick translation
There we
of
go.
Moed met Woebet achterad on a modern misdrif betreffen waarvoor in. Dude, I
Kind of want to go
butchered this
back
language
because yeah,
severely.
you
I am so
butchered it.
sorry.
I can't speak it
My, no,
myself, but
to anybody watching
yeah, I
this
don't
from
think
that
that's
region, man,
correct.
they gotta listen to this fucking fat Indian guy fuck up their land. God damn. So over here, what's written is you will be questioned about facts that may constitute a criminal offense for which you may be deprived of your liberty, and then of course they exactly have to name what the crime could be, right? So, a quick translation of Moed met Woebet achterad actually translates to premeditated murder in this
Oh,
story,
of
okay?
course.
So, yeah, it's a pretty serious charge. And what they mentioned down over here is an exact date. So, 09/07/2024 and then 15/07/2024. So, again, what happened with some eagle eyed investigators in the story, and again, I want to just shout out the people involved in researching this as well, too. You had International Cyber Digest apparently say that apparently the 11th July 2024, Belgian police found a dead body on a forest trail. Okay, so basically this story came out to, if I can pull it up right here. So they used the dates apparently aligned with this and said that they found the article here, which was a body found in forest path on Dagenstraat, Mechelen.
Now, this part is kind
So
of
a body was
wild
found
though,
in a ditch along a forest path. Emergency services rushed to
and
the scene,
definitely
yada, yada, yada.
why
So
it'd
the
be a
only bit of evidence that I
extreme
can
self tell
verify that this is actually like kind
for
of the same thing was I found another source called Nieuwsblad, which again I took the actual text over here from this article, the short one, translated it, and it says shortly
it says
after noon, emergency
suicide. Like,
services
come on
called
now.
because a person was found in a canal alongside the forest road near Geer Dagenstraat in Mechelen. An investigation followed, which revealed that it was the case of suicide. Now, I don't know if this is exactly the same, murder or whatever, right? But again, this is what,
I mean,
again, these International Cyber Digest kind of linked it to. Again,
even if it coughing a lot today, but if it really was they were investigating and they found it was supposed to be a suicide, then what they posted is wild because it just told on them and gave them the idea that it really wasn't a suicide.
they didn't really mention it over here. These people are just kind of claiming this was actually confirming to be the case. But again, I'm just saying that I haven't personally confirmed it myself. Now, of course, at this moment in time, this is a pretty serious thing, right? We're talking about a murder in this situation, so I
I'm gonna
really
have to watch
don't
that
care
soon.
necessarily as much. Now, in this story, obviously, our friend B8R20 claims that something on his device effectively has led to him possibly being put in life behind bars, okay? Life imprisonment if caught with murder, right? Which is,
This
from
is
what
kind
I
of why I
understand,
wanted to talk about it because
what's going to happen to you
it
if this is the story. Now,
is
obviously, there's been so many different like
it ties in exactly what I was talking about just yesterday with Graphene OS, right? Um, because yeah, it's this situation involves the person using Graphene OS. So,
reactions to this. One of them is Graphene OS admin. You gotta shut the fuck up. No
like,
one cares if he's a career criminal, actually. I
well,
do, to
yeah,
be honest with you. I really do care if this guy is possibly a career criminal. People
yeah.
care if the product works or not. And the fact that you keep randomly bringing up he's a scammer indicates your product is the scam. Now, ultimately, Graphene OS is being accused that their actual operating system isn't secure. Something in here was cracked. So I decided to go to B8R20's like actual Telegram, which usually that's always a great sign that something is happening. There's a Telegram
Yeah, I kinda just stopped after hearing this because I was like, "Oh, wow. I really gotta, um, commentate on this live because I don't know where this is going." So,
fatigue that I have. But anyways,
I don't know if,
to go over
some
here,
actually
ladies and
did or
gentlemen,
not.
the latest post that he has was, "I'm exhausted. Today was a real bad day. We'll be up tomorrow." Now, if you actually scroll up a little bit, he does talk about why Graphene OS is bad in this situation. And in one of these posts, he
I don't even
showcases
use
more
Telegram,
information. So if you're looking at this is apparently a
well,
PDF that is
on my
part of
normal
a
phone, at
sensitive
least.
criminal investigation. I know it's a bit hard to read, but they mention over here that in the forensics lab, they got a black phone. Device LC1 was found to be a Google Pixel Graphene OS device. So examination of the device found a number of features indicative that the device is a hardened secure platform. However, Celebrite extracted all the data, which is actually rather interesting because
Celebrite is,
Celebrite literally has a matrix
Israeli,
that
by
was
the way.
leaked that showcased that actually the graphene devices were the ones that they couldn't crack. So I'm having a bit of a hard time believing this guy, but let's go down a little further. So inside here it says all data was extracted from the device. If relevant, date and times of communication data should be verified with the relevant communication provider. Contemporaneous notes were maintained during the examination
I
and are
can't even see
retained with
that.
the Cybercrime Center. So here they show photos of the actual like phone, and then further examination
Oh,
shows features that are indicative, which are part of a
guess I
hardened
can't
secure
do that.
communication. So for instance, Graphene OS device wallpaper. He's got signal notifications, wasted, roaming, alphanumeric passcode. Good for you. NordVPN. Okay, so yeah, ladies and gentlemen, why did I laugh with the passcode a little bit? Well, it seems that the story might be that the person was a pretty bad OPSEC
Oh,
enjoyer, if you will. So here's
okay.
the thing. Obviously, there is no device that is unhackable. To claim that any device is unhackable is severely short sighted. While these devices are very secure, ultimately it depends on if you have an updated device, as long as the device is supported, but it doesn't protect you from, let's say, law enforcement.
I think I know where this is going. They just brute forced his, actual passcode, which, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And, it would obviously make sense that he would complain about it, but and think they actually could hack it, but no, they just brute forced his passcode. Um, Now, like I said, on my iPhone, only I know the passcode, so, um, they're not gonna get it from me if I don't want it to, and they can't ask somebody else for it. It's been the same one for years, but, again, nobody knows it. Um, but my Graphene OS has a completely different passcode, right? So my Pixel has very different password. I think it is alphanumeric. I don't think I used a pattern or anything for that. But yeah, no. So even if they did get like a potential passcode, it could be maybe even if they got my iPhone passcode, which again I'll never even say, so they wouldn't. But if somehow they ever found it out, they still couldn't access my other phone. So that is something you should really do if you do have two phones. Just make sure you have different passcodes. Um, I know people are lazy and use the same passcode for basically everything. But yeah, it's really not secure, of course, obviously. Again, you really shouldn't be using like plain text either on your PC or something for passcodes either, because again, it's really easy to hack as well. So, um, if anything, I don't do this personally because it just seems like it's too much work, to be honest. But you could, in theory, just make your own program to encrypt all the passwords, um, and then unencrypt it all the time. And you need a password, right? You know that password to unencrypt it by heart, like your phone password, but you don't know all the other passwords, right? You could do that. I'm not gonna do that because I'm too lazy, but you could.
enforcement figuring out what your code is by watching you maybe enter it,
Mm,
spy on you, or by you having just a weak passcode to begin with.
that's
If,
true.
for instance, on my device, I put in the passcode 1234 and somehow the cops cracked that, whose
Oof.
fucking fault is that? Is that Graphene OS's?
Yes.
Is that mine? I would probably wager that it is my fault for having such an easy dipshit passcode to figure out. So in this case, he actually
No joke, I have seen somebody's phone that actually was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Um, no, it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 0, something like that. Um, yeah, I was incredibly shocked because I needed to do something on their phone or whatever. Um, and well, I didn't need to, but they wanted me to do something on their phone, and they told me the passcode was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 0. I was like, "What the fuck? What is this?" That's one of the most known passwords you would ever even try, you know? Of course, it's not the first password you probably try, but it's one of the first passwords you try. So that was incredibly funny to me. Um, I don't even remember the person anymore, but I do remember the fact that they had that. So
does explain further inside his like rant why the fuck this happened. So the fellows over at GrapheneOS go and say, spend some time right now what you say happened. So there's actually something to talk about. Explain why and how the phone was taken. Give a clear and detailed explanation for why you believe the phone was exploited. So again, he's like, English is not my first language. The phone was locked and was seized. I gave my duress pin as a code. The phone did not self destruct. So what he mentions is a feature known as the duress pin. Now basically, on a modern like Graphene OS smartphone, you will get the option to input a duress pin. Now the duress pin allows you to basically set up a code. Like for instance, if my duress pin was 5678, right? And the cops were like, give me your pin. Or somebody was like, give me your pin so I can get into your phone, right? I'm under duress. I'm going to tell them, oh, yeah, my pin is 5678. So as soon as they enter that pin, it is effectively going to nuke all the data off of my device. Now, again,
I
our
do have
buddy
that one
here
as
is
well,
claiming that
of
that
course.
didn't happen. All right, that didn't occur. Now, he hasn't provided any fucking evidence, any proof of this whatsoever. It literally is his word against everyone else's. And it turns out that his word may not necessarily be all that in a bag of chips, because it turns out the guy is a prolific alleged scammer. But we'll get to that in a little
I
bit.
mean,
So
there's
obviously,
attempted
as he was
murder, so
arguing with the community about this, a community that is already being attacked for a
also, I mean, he's clearly well versed enough to know about Graphene OS, right? But um, he's clearly not versed enough to know that Graphene OS is probably actually very secure. Because people like Mudahar or even actual people who do it for their job, they're saying like, no, it probably was just something like you did or something. No, wasn't that Graphene OS was necessarily hacked. It was because you, which I mean, if you've ever taken any cybersecurity course at all, you'd understand, or not even just understand it, but you'd be told the the weakest part of any computer security is the human. It's not nothing to do with, you know, necessarily the computer itself. Of course, there are exploits, but of course, a human had to have um, coded it, right? And then, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? But yeah, the weakest um, basically chain of any security is human, even physical security, right? Because I no joke, one time I was going in for an interview somewhere, and uh, I went into an employee section only because somebody held the door open for me, right? That was the funniest thing ever because I was trying to find out where I was supposed to go. It was nowhere near where I was actually at. So no, I was literally in their basically secure area when I wasn't supposed to be, simply because I looked like I was supposed to be there. I acted like I was supposed to be there, and I and somebody held the door open for me. Um, so yeah, I mean, it was insane. I because I didn't even know that. at that time, that door was locked, with a card or whatever to swipe it, because, yeah, people were just going in there and holding the door open for everybody, so I was kinda just walking up there, and someone was in front of me, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, here you go." So, yeah, it was probably the first time that it ever happened on accident, and it ever really happened in general, right? Because unless I purposely try to do that, um, I don't really want to try to do that because then you could get in trouble, right? But, no, I just was, in the wrong area, so yeah.
allowing phones to exist that are drug dealers. Again, this is the kind of slander that the privacy community has to fucking deal with. So, for instance, some guys like, if graphene failed you, you wouldn't receive a search warrant, you'd be getting handcuffs. So he's like, he said he was charged with murder, spent 7 months in jail before the graphene OS phone was ever obtained by the cops. He was already a suspect and being charged prior to
Oh,
when he says
well,
the police
okay.
obtained his device. He also says it was in before first unlock, which is basically a stage
Oh,
where, you know, when
well,
you
yeah.
fire up your phone, like for instance, if you have an iPhone, fire it up, do not enter the
We were just talking, or I was just about this yesterday, but if you do that, then yeah. Um, if it was in via view, then no, definitely not.
code, like just reboot your phone, don't enter the code, and the first time you enter the code, you'll notice that your phone like lags a little bit. It takes a little second to start up. It's because that's when your phone is initially unlocking and just decrypting everything. So it's just, that's what they mean by that. So he means that exploiting the OS, which does not provide access to user data. So he ruled out graphene OS exploits as a way they could have obtained user data without realizing it. He also said he used a strong passphrase, rolling out a secure element exploit, okay? Where's any evidence or indication any data was extracted? It's his assumption because they raised the charge to premeditated. Now, again, I don't know if
I mean, you could see it in the response here. I don't know if he's gonna go over it, but yeah, they could just do it as an intimidation tactic. They can lie to you. Now, I'm not gonna say I know any law over in Belgium, right? I obviously don't. But I do know in America, the cops can literally lie to you, right? They can just say one thing and not, actually meet it at all. In fact, they will purposely lie to you if they're trying to arrest you, right? Um, in fact, I was, um, see, I was a suspect in a hit run, but they were trying to make me say I was involved in it, right? I wasn't, right? They had zero proof that I was, and I can say that, especially now because it's been 2 years now and they still haven't arrested me even though the guy said, "Oh, we'll be back soon to arrest you," after they let me go, of course. But they put me in the back of the truck. They took, well, not the truck, but they put me in the back of the car. They even, impounded my vehicle. Like, yeah, my car was damaged earlier from a reported accident they knew of, right? But they were saying it just happened, like, that morning, right? I was literally at home at that point, trying to get my truck started, um, and it was having battery issues, so I was running my car to, jump it, and, so they also claimed because my engine was warm from doing that, that of course I had to have been driving it, right? So, yeah, they took all that evidence, which, of course, that's circumstantial evidence, but they impounded my car and wouldn't let me get it until, like, 3 weeks later. So I ended up having to pay $700 just to get it out of the impound lot. They wouldn't even, um, like, give me my money back. They wouldn't reimburse me at all, even though they couldn't find any evidence that this car was even involved, right? They had no idea, or they couldn't find any proof that my car was involved in hit and run. And other than the person who called apparently said my license plate, which, yeah, it was my license plate, yeah, but they had 0 proof other than that, that it was even involved because they let me get my car back without it, being impounded forever under um, suspicion of actually being in it, and they never even arrested me. They detained me, of course, right at the beginning, but they never were able to charge me. And to this day, I'm still $700 out because of that.
passphrase rolling out a secure element exploit, okay? Where's any evidence or indication any data was extracted? It's his assumption because they raised the charge to premeditated. Now, again, I don't know if these guys have seen the documentation he provided showing that the device was cracked, which is interesting. But again, I'm saying the escalation happened because they took the device and the new information they confronted me with came from digital sources that were only present on that phone. So here's the thing. I have to say this is almost a self-admission. So wait a minute. You were already like investigated by the cops, but somehow they got access to your smartphone, they cracked it, and there was some information on that smartphone that is being used by law enforcement to up your charge to premeditated murder. That makes me wonder if there was actually evidence used against you. Now again, it could be that
I mean, if you do that, why would you even use a phone that you use all the time, right? Like I wouldn't even understand why you would do that. I'm not saying I would ever plan a murder, but if if I did, then I wouldn't be doing something like that, right? I'd be using I'd probably buy a phone a year in advance or something, maybe longer. Use that for anything. Get all the materials way far in advance. But that's just me. Because I don't want to go to jail for attempted murder or even murder itself. So, but I wouldn't even do that in the first place. But I'm just saying, if you would, there's ways to kind of clean your hands of it, essentially. Um, Not as much in the surveillance state that we are going to be living in soon, but there are
that
ways.
maybe the cops were planning evidence on the guy. Maybe that could be a thing. I don't know. Okay. Unmeditated murder in this
It's
story. Okay. So yeah, it's a pretty serious charge. And what they mentioned down over here is an exact date. So 09/07/2024 and then 15/07/2024. So again, what happened with some eagle-eyed investigators in the story, and again, I want to just shout out the people involved in researching this as well too. You
oh,
had International Cyber Digest apparently say that on apparently the 11th July 2024, Belgian police found a dead body on a forest trail. Okay, so basically, this story came out to, if I can pull it up right here. So they used the dates apparently aligned with this and said that they found the article here, which was a body found in forest path on Dagenstraat, Mechelen. So a body was found in a ditch along a forest path. Emergency services rushed to the scene, yada, yada, yada. So the only bit of evidence that I can verify that this is actually like kind of the same thing was I found another source called Newsblad, which again I took the the actual text over here from this article, the short one, translated it, and it says shortly after noon, emergency services called because a person was found in a canal alongside the forest road near Gir Dag.
I kind of think that's all I need to know about. Because yeah, I just think it was them being stupid, honestly. Um, well, I'm not even surprised. I mean, because there was somebody who apparently was being harassed by the cops because they alleged she drove past a place, which she did, but she stopped and tried to, or did successfully take a package from somebody's house, right? But of course, the cops never wanted to see her side of the story. So I'm not even surprised that this would happen as well. They just don't care. They just never care about you. Let's see. What else is here? Huh? Oh, what is it?
Exist yet. So Apple is trying to fight back against age verification laws,
Oh, that's good.
specifically App Store age verification laws. Apple CEO Tim Cook met with US lawmakers on Wednesday to lobby against pending children's online safety legislation that
So it's they're trying to do it in America too, I guess. Hmm. I know they are doing like you can't go to certain adult websites without age verified in certain states, right? But I didn't think they would do that for like all of the internet, like Australia and the UK, right? Especially since, I guess no, 'cause, yeah, they want um a surveillance state, and this would be the easiest way to do so. Um, but I just don't understand how this can even get through legislation if it is obviously a violation of the Fourth Amendment, right? I just can't understand how any of the surveillance state legislation could ever pass. Like they say it's to protect the children or to reduce crime, but really it's not. It's just to make sure everyone's doing what they're supposed to do, right? Yeah, it might help with crime, but what it really would do is stop everybody, right, from even wanting to go out or whatever, because they know they will be watched by the government. I just I just don't know why people allow this to happen, right? I don't also understand why people are voting for politicians that allow this to happen as well. Now, there's not many people who would be against it because they know that they would benefit from it because they won't be watched, but everybody else will be watched. So I just can't see a way we can get around this without something drastic happening to kind of snap everybody into reality of what's going on. You know what I'm saying? Because I know there are people that are against it, right? A lot of the internet is against it, but not everyone's on the internet, right? Uh, and not even everyone on the internet is against it. So it's kind of terrible thing to know, right? That there are people against it, but nobody is coming together enough to really do something about it. They're too focused on other political aspects that are, I guess, more pressing to them, and they're not, or they're wanting this because it will be good. I don't know. All I know is um I do agree with what ICE is doing to a certain extent, but what they're doing to surveil people because they just paid $5 million to an Israeli company to essentially spy on people, right? With 0 day exploits, and that is obviously not okay because you might like it because it's doing something you want to do, or you accept and agree with what ICE is doing. But when it comes to the next administration, they're gonna have a vengeance, right? Because that's just how it works in today's world. They're gonna be like, "Well, you did to us, so we're gonna do it to you," and they're gonna basically do everybody in the entire United States. They're gonna try to surveil everybody. Um, now I kind of knew who was gonna win 2024's election, but at this point, I couldn't even think to know who's gonna win 2028. I don't know who's gonna even gonna run, but other than maybe Vance, but I don't really want Vance. He's part of the fucking corrupt government as it is now. But even still, it's like I don't want to elect any Democrats either because again, they're part of the system already in place. We got to get rid of that. We got to get rid of this system currently in place that is hurting working class and essentially propping up the. And I'm not trying to be socialist here. I hate socialism. Okay, but I understand it has good things for the masses, right? A healthy blend of socialism and capitalism is the way to go. Uh, You see that back in the day of the United States, even there wasn't so much corporatization, right? Monopolies wouldn't be as much of a problem as it is today. And yeah, I mean, I can't see where we go from here because the the liberals will try to are essentially going to try to completely negate what Donald Trump has done. Right or wrong, they will try to replace what he did because they don't like him, right? And then the Republicans will just revert what they just did and try to add even more stuff on top of that, you know what I'm saying? So it's nowadays I just feel like they're just trying to win to have a little fuck you to the last administration and well we won so all of what you just did for the last 4 years it's going away just because we don't like you. That's how I feel like it is nowadays, and that is incredibly sad, so sad to me. But yeah, it's not a very good place right now. I'm not saying I want to move anywhere, but America's still not in a great place either. So yeah.
That would require App Store operators to authenticate users' ages, pressing instead for an alternate version that puts the burden of protecting kids on parents. Thank you.
I mean, that's what it should always be, right? Um, I grew up without much of a phone in the first place, without much. I did have access to the internet, of course, but my parents were always, I feel like they might have been a little too much, right? But um, they did, of course, not let me do a lot of things on the internet. Um, so yeah, again, I still feel like it might have been a little too much, a little too heavy of saying, "Oh, you can't do this or this or this or this or this," right? Um, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. But yeah, at the end of the day, you're still gonna be on the internet, and when you turn 18, then yeah. But I kind of wanted to be my own person, but oh well. Anyways, today I still don't really use the internet, other than I don't really use social media like at all, right? But I do sometimes. I mainly watch YouTube, so there's that. But I don't really have Snapchat. I don't have Instagram. I don't have a Facebook. I only have X because of this, right? Um, so that's the only reason I even use the internet really right now. So yeah, uh,
Thank you. Why can't parents just do their jobs and not have the government have to babysit their kids? But regardless, Apple has raised
well, even they want to babysit the kids, or they want to make all these poor quote unquote kids, but everybody knows it's not for the kids. Except for uninformed people, right? Uninformed people are always like, "Oh, it's just for the kids." They're only doing it for the kids. They're not going to overstep their boundaries when it becomes normalized. Like they don't know the government. Like they haven't seen what the government has verifiably done. And it's not even a conspiracy to theory to say the government is not a good entity, right? They will do things again or behind your back. They will do things that don't align with what you want. So, and it's not a conspiracy theory to think that, by the way. If you think that is a conspiracy theory and the government's high and mighty, you are lying to yourself, or I guess just being lied to and are completely gullible, right? That's all I can even think of because yeah, it's how it is. Um, I am noticing that, which is oh, never mind. There it goes. Kind of stuttered there for a minute there. So wanted to make sure that was okay. Yeah, but yeah, it's like they do it not for the kids. They do it just to be able to spy on you, like
Concerns about the
China,
App Store Accountability Act, which would require app stores to verify the ages of users in order to determine whether minors are using
which I don't hear a lot of people saying, "Oh yeah, we want China's surveillance around in the United States," but yet they allow this to continue to go on, which will eventually lead to the Chinese level of surveillance. So it's kind of like, why don't you think this will lead to that point? What in your right mind makes you think the government will not try to push this to the point where it will be like China? I seriously cannot wrap my head around that. How people are so ignorant to that. Feel me?
using potentially harmful apps. The bill is going to be set to be considered on Thursday morning, and keep in mind this bill could go nationwide across the country. That would basically mandate all 50 states to force people to submit ID age verification if they want to download certain apps on Apple or Google Play or whatever without their parents' permission. I mean, it is just crazy. During a closed-door meeting with members of the committee, Cook urged lawmakers not to require App Store operators to check documentation of users' ages and instead rely on parents to provide the age of their child when creating a child's account, according to a statement from Apple. That is literally how it's always been, and it has worked just fine.
Yeah, I don't see how that's not because you know, you don't have to um say or prove that you're an adult. But if you set up a child's account from a different account, then that assumes that is a child, right? Why would a child make a account and then make a child's account for that, right? That doesn't make sense. But lawmakers will try to say, "Oh, it makes 100% sense," even though they don't know where Singapore is, by the way. Um, they don't know that Singapore is not China as well. I just remember this from when TikTok CEO or somebody was they were trying to ban TikTok, right? They couldn't even understand that Singapore was not China. So there is that. You know, they are stupid, but they're stupid enough to be having their strings pulled by somebody. Somebody is at the top here. Somebody there are smart people that are running the government. So I'm not saying all makers are stupid because they're not. They know most of them know what they're doing. They just don't know how to do it correctly. They might get it done eventually, but they've done it in a way that just doesn't make sense to anybody. Oh,
allow parents to do their damn jobs and force them to take care of their kids like they should have done right when their kid was born. The idea that parents are apparently wanting to rely on the government to raise
well, a lot of the time nowadays, iPad kids. They're literally iPad kids now. You know, they don't want to take care of their children. Um, at this point, I'm like, just give them a hooping stick or something. They can play with that outside. A 2-year-old child doesn't need to watch Coco Melon on a fucking iPad for the entire time you're at home, right? That doesn't need to happen. Now, I understand hours at work are getting longer and you get less paid as well. I do understand that, but there's a that issue has nothing to do with children. That has all to do. You could fix parents being good parents by just fixing how workers' rights essentially. You could fix workers' rights, and that would in turn fix parents being good parents. Might not fix everybody, but at the end of the day, that will help. Um, but I don't see it happening anytime soon. And again, that's mainly because the lawmakers in power right now want to stay in power. They don't want to be kicked out of office or anything to change because they're making money now. And if they get out of power, they won't be making so much money. When you're in government and you make wait maybe 200,000 a year, right? That's maybe base salary of a government employee at the lawmaking level. I don't actually. Oh yeah, no, I was basically kind of correct. You can see that lawmakers' salaries differ, and like I said, these are the people I'm talking about. $174,000 a year. So yeah, they're making $200,000 a year. But when they are at the end of the day, um, making $1 million that year, how do they get that money? You know what I'm saying? Where do they find the extra $800,000 in that year? Because they didn't make it through their job. They probably made it investing. And where are they investing? Oh, the companies that they're making laws for. Feel me? So it's kind of just that's obvious corruption, right? How can we not see that as a society? Or do people just not care? Because I know the people in power don't care because they're the ones benefiting from it. But then you've got a lot of stupid fucking people on both the left and right. I'm not gonna say one side is smarter than the other, but you got fanatics with Trump that are just don't care what he's doing or what his government's doing or what anyone in power is doing. They just care that Trump's in office, right? Or then you got the left that are like, well, we just really hate Trump. That's our entire persona, basically. I don't care about anything, but whatever Trump's doing is where I'm totally against it. I see zero nuance in anything anybody does. That's essentially how it works nowadays. And it's really sad to know because then you have so many less people in the mind state of, well, I'm not somebody on the right or left. I want to see the country be good. And what we're doing now is not at all that. In fact, we are straying farther and farther away with each coming year, essentially. And even worse when um, the elite in power and just the elite in general are the ones benefiting from it. And they're not being the voices like mine are not being heard like at all.
Raise their own children is just insane to me. The company described Cook's argument as one founded on privacy concerns. Of course, yeah, obviously people
Yeah,
don't want to submit their IDs if they don't have to. And then this freaking dummy over
I shouldn't ever have to submit my ID online. I shouldn't, unless it's something for the government itself. Like you have to do something with it. I shouldn't have to at all.
here said that he met with Cook and doesn't expect major changes to the bill. It said, oh, it would be good if they would work with us, but we're going full speed ahead. Yeah, full speed ahead of taking everybody's information, violating their privacy, and forcing them to freaking submit an ID just to do the most basic things on the internet. This is something that I've mentioned before.
Well, the worst part is these companies are require an ID and whatnot, and they have to store it somewhere, right? And then if there's a hacker, they can get into it and essentially leak it all, which literally already happened with Discord, right? So we know it will not work. And yet, for some reason, the government's still pushing for it. Why? Well, I think we all know
For in
why.
other videos as well. But the fact that both major parties in America
Yeah,
are
this
in
is see, this is where they both will agree, but they will never agree on anything else. It's so absurd to me, right? They both want to have a surveillance government, but anything else, they can never agree with anything. It's like, come on now. It's just left and right at that point. It's politics are not left and right. I don't know if you have to be someone that's not from America to understand this, but politics are not just left and right. There are a lot of yes, but it's not at all left and right only because you got um I think I seen somewhere. Let me pull that up. Look at it. Okay. Yeah. So right here, essentially right here. This is kind of where you go, right? You got liberal, conservative, but what I'm trying to say is it's not left and right. You got authoritarian as well. You got liberalism, authoritarianism. Got I don't know about this actually, but what I'm trying to say is it's not at all just left and right. I I remember there was an area or something I saw that it just I guess this I guess this kind of you got libertarianism down here, authoritarian up here. Um but you could be over here, you could be here, you could be up here, over here, could be right here as well on all issues. Uh, no, not all issues, but like one issue might be over here, one issue might be down here, right? But at the end of the day, you're somewhere right here, right? You're not just here or just here. It's always a spectrum. So yeah, it's like Americans just don't understand that for some reason. Like that wasn't a very good way of explaining it, but my idea is kind of just it's not left and right. You've got so many nuances to every political discussion. But in today's America, there is no nuance. There's only left and right. You only pick for abortion, actually. You only can be like, we can't have an abortion at all. Or we could have abortion up to 86 weeks trimester or 86 trimester, right? Which essentially, I don't actually know how much that is. Let's see. Well, no. Okay, so how long is a trimester? 3 months, right? Yeah, 12 weeks or so. So basic math here 80, 86 times 3, right? No, divided by 3. Hmm. Yeah, that's correct. That's a 28-year-old. I'm actually not sure. No, 28 months old. Sorry. 28 months. So either way, that's a fucking child at that point, right? They are born out of the womb by that point. Um, so yeah, that is a human, a child, right? And some people would actually genuinely be okay with killing that. And I think that is why a lot of the left is actually in favor of political assassinations, as you can see with the Charlie Kirk assassination. A lot of people on the left, not, I'm just saying, that's the only place I ever saw it. Most of them were very okay with it, right? Because I think they just are okay with death and murder and killing people. Just saying. I'm just saying. Um, so yeah. But you got people on the right that like as soon as you see it at all, you can't kill it one bit. You can't have it at all, which both of those are extremely stupid takes to me. Honestly, they are just absolutely stupid takes to me. Um, Even Charlie Kirk was like, well, once you see it, even if it was certain circumstance, or even if it will kill the mother, no matter what, like it's 100% chance they will kill the mother if that baby is delivered. He's like, you can't kill it, which is a stupid take, absolutely stupid, moronic take right there. Um, that's at least to me, right? Because I would not think that there's no way in my thought would would be like, yeah, I'm just gonna accept that, or even again like the opposite, where it could literally be born and you'd still want it dead. You know what I'm saying? So there is way more than just that, and I mean personally, I believe um it's not my choice, right? I don't really want to have abortions all the way up until it's actually being born, of course, but after a certain point, uh, it should not be aborted anymore, or should not be able to be aborted anymore. Because there's a point where that you're pregnant, right? You know you're pregnant. If you don't understand you're pregnant for, I guess, 2, 3 months, there's something going on, right? You have to have known you're pregnant. So and that's not really when there's a heartbeat or whatever. I actually don't know most of that, but I'm just saying there's a point that you should understand you are pregnant, right? Um, Before you deliver the child, especially, right? Like you would definitely know before you deliver the child. After having no period for 9 months, you should know that you're having a child, right? So there's a lot of that. But if there are certain circumstances like the woman was raped, or it's you're way too young, right? Or again, it will kill you. I believe in that case, you can definitely abort it no matter what. Maybe not wait all the fucking way until 9 months, but at a certain point when you do understand you're pregnant, you can abort it at that point, even if it is, kind of a little late. You can still do it, especially if it is more known that it will kill the mother. Um, Even at 8 months, if you know it will kill the mother at 8 months, fine, and because yeah, to essentially kill one life just to bring another life in is kind of moronic. But yeah, there's nuances to every political discussion, but nobody in America cares. Nobody in America cares. I know a lot of my friends actually are like in the same mindset, which is good, but you don't want to be in the echo chambers either. But when you're in a mind state of there's nuances and not everything can is black and white, then it's not as much of an echo chamber, right? But when you're on the left, you're an echo chamber, or you're on the right with an echo chamber, you won't. understand, or you won't care to even look at the issue. You'll just be like, "Yeah, I'm doing what they say. I don't have my own opinions. I just do what the masses tell me to do." That is huge issue and completely takes out political discussion. I don't really, like I said, I'm not well versed in a lot of political discussions, but I still have opinions that are mine. I don't look at one side or the other and like, oh, that's where I'm going. No, I more than likely will look at both sides. Um, except for Palestine and Israel, I don't really look at that at all. Right? Other than the fact that we are sending so much money over to Israel, which we really shouldn't be doing in the first place because we have so many problems here. So I have that, right? But I don't care what's going on over there, right? It doesn't affect me in the slightest. Now I could, research that a little bit more and have a more educated take, but I'm definitely not going to be like, oh yeah, I'm for Israel or oh yeah, I'm for Palestine. Now I see that most people are now even switching sides, saying we probably shouldn't be supporting Israel anymore. But I have done zero research, so I'm not even gonna attempt to say, yeah, I don't support Israel in any type of way. That's not gonna happen for me. So yeah,
Favor of this. It just makes me want to lose my fucking mind. These out of touch idiots that are in our government just don't know anything about fucking how the internet works and privacy, or in reality, they probably do. And they know this is a
oh
huge
yeah,
breach
they'll
of
hundred
privacy, but
percent
they don't
know.
care because they want
They
that
know.
sweet, sweet biometric data and those billions of dollars worth of information. Apple's global
See, just making money.
head of privacy last week sent a letter to the panel expressing concerns that the
I think it's really, really ironic that before Apple was actually they got in trouble for doing exactly what they're trying to protect now, that they had Siri listen to everything you were doing and stored it somewhere, right? And now they're actually pretty good at security. I just think it's kind of funny. Um, it's great news that they are trying to be more secure, but at the same time, you have to know that they did that at one point. So how secure are they really? You know?
legislation could threaten the privacy of all Apple App Store users. Of course, yeah, I
I'm not
totally
I'm not gonna say that just because they did it before, they can't be trusted now. But you have to have that in the back of your mind that yeah, they did do this at one point. They could do it again, but are they? Question. You'd have to actually do the research into that, and I do not want to. So,
totally agree. Another bill that committee is set to consider Thursday more
because
closely
I
aligns with
think there are
Apple's
people
vision for
actually doing
child's
it.
online
So,
safety legislation. Ever since the Kids Online Safety Act became a thing, I just remember like this whole thing has essentially been documented on channels like mine. I remember when this started becoming a thing and people were talking about it. I was saying this months ago, watch out, this is going to be a slippery slope. This is going to be something that is going to affect multiple people in multiple different countries. It's not going to just be in the UK. People are going to start mandating ID age verification for random things left and right. And look at where we are now. This might actually be a nationwide bill in the United States. So it is just fucking insane what this has turned into. And the fact that people didn't have the foresight to see this just makes me think that there's a lot of naive people out there, especially parents. I showed this poll in my last video and it still makes my blood pressure rise looking at it. But just these are the types of polls that people are conducting right now, saying like,
that's insane. I guess I'm wrong about it. I don't know. Um, I don't understand why. I just don't understand why there should like should there be a ban? They shouldn't be online, but there shouldn't be a ban. Keep them offline, right? Because you can't enforce it without doing authoritarian stuff, right? To enforce it, kind of like guns. You know what I'm saying? You can't um, have a national registry of firearms without doing very authoritarian stuff to get that registry. Um, Now, personally, I don't mind guns. There's yeah, maybe certain guns shouldn't be so easily available, but AR-15s, those the media just completely is being either willfully ignorant or purposely lying to you about a lot of things. They always claim, "Oh, yeah, the semi-automatic gun." Like, all guns are semi-automatic that you can buy. You cannot buy an automatic gun without having, like, an FFL, right? So there are laws against buying automatic guns, and most people who are buying these automatic guns, they're not gonna have FFLs, right? They're not gonna have the proper paperwork to even get an automatic weapon. Now, there are conversions that can make it pretty much automatic, um, like the Glock switch, which kinda should be illegal, and it is illegal, but the my my point is, no law-abiding citizen is doing that. Only criminals are making their guns fully automatic with the Glock switch. Now, of course, there might be people doing it on the down low, but they're not going to go out and shoot people for the fun of it. They're not going to commit mass genocide, not genocide, but mass killings with their newly automatic Glock, right? That just doesn't happen. But you will find people in the streets, especially Chicago, using their switches on their Glocks and shooting indiscriminately into their quote unquote ops. And well, they hit a lot of other people as well sometimes. A lot of collateral damage, but they don't really care because it's not their turf, right? So there's something to be said in the inner cities as well. I'm just gonna say that right now. There's something to be said down in the inner cities. Because I used to live in the inner city actually, so I do know a thing or two, especially now I wasn't living in Chicago's inner city or anything, but I there is definitely a hood down there, and there's completely different culture than um anywhere else I've ever I lived there for 5 years, so I definitely knew about the culture. Now, in those 5 years, I never actually had my house broken into. Well, maybe, but I did have an alarm system, so that did call the cops. So, there was never actually anything ever stolen. So but I do know when I moved in, I didn't have like curtains or blinds, right? And almost instantly, it was in the winter, and I saw somebody's footprints going up to my window. So I do know that this someone was at least watching or looking into my house, but nothing could have ever happened. So
Like, oh, do you agree with Australia's ban on social media for kids under 16? So basically, do you agree with kids being forced to submit their ID to do the most basic things on the internet? And the vast majority of fucking parents that are polled in this poll and many other polls are saying yes. They are so delusional if they actually think that submitting the IDs of their own children to social media platforms is a good way to protect their privacy and keep them safe. It is the dumbest thing in the world. And this is all about greed at the end of the day. Like I was saying, like, oh, maybe these, out of touch people are just, they don't understand how this could affect privacy. I mean, essentially, I was purposely being sarcastic. I know that these guys just want fucking money. They just want to collect our data and they just want to control the masses, right? If they have all of our information, both parents and kids, they have all of our government IDs on social media and all these other platforms. They can monitor literally everything that we do. They can watch
I
over us
mean, they
all the
kind
time.
of already do that, right? They kind of already do that because large companies will sell your data, right? And I guarantee you they have contacts with the governments, right? With all governments, especially since obviously I said this yesterday, but last election 2020, the Hunter Biden situation with his laptop, obviously I know that they have connections in the government, so and connections deep enough to say, yeah, this is gonna be, even though it was completely untrue, right? What they're saying was completely untrue. It was obviously a lie, especially now. They said this is misinformation. It's a Russian misinformation campaign, which we know now it was not at all. It had nothing to do with Russia, right? It was very much real. So we know that much, right? And given that, we also know that the other big companies will have contacts. Now, will they necessarily be like Facebook, where they will actually listen to the government? Who knows? But they do have contacts.
And this is a thing that I've mentioned in other videos before. Shout out to everybody who had my back in the comment section of my last video. But like people who talk about this situation like me really are getting accused of fear mongering. And it is just the most laughable thing in the world to me.
But yeah, maybe we're being called fear mongering because, and I guess not we, but people talk about it are called fear mongering because the government wants to pass this, and um, they will lie to you. They do all. They will lie to you. Like, I don't understand why people genuinely don't understand the government will lie to you. It's so stupid. It's not even laughable at this point. It's sad. It's sad people genuinely think the government will not lie to you when it's been proven that they will. It's not even sad, or it's not even funny. It's sad.
We're fear mongering for talking about the fact that age verification is going to keep spreading more and more. And it just keeps happening.
Well, yeah, we're saying it, and it's actually happening, right? Um, you can say that it's not gonna happen all you want, but when you look at it, it keeps spreading. Not just spreading, but getting even more rooted into trying to be normalized. Well, so it's not even at this point a conspiracy theory, right? But the government who want to pass it know that a lot of people don't want to think for themselves. So they will tell these people who are just stupid. In my opinion, if you can't think for yourself, you are actually stupid. Like, you are genuinely stupid. You don't have to have a high IQ to be smart. You just have to think for yourself, essentially. And even people who don't, or people who might have a high IQ, if they are not thinking for themselves, I'm going to call you stupid. Okay. I'm going to call you stupid because you don't think for yourself. If you don't have your own opinions and you just do what everybody else does as a hive mind, then yeah, I don't care how smart you are on paper. You are stupid to me. So anyone, even I'm not just talking one side or the other either. I'm saying anyone who's a claimed Republican, if you have a hive mind of everything that the Republicans do is great and everything that the Democrats do is terrible, you are stupid. If you are on, or if you are a liberal more, and you think everybody in the Democrat is great and whatever they do is gospel essentially, but which is funny because none of them actually believe in God, right? But if you think that, right, then you also think the Republicans, whatever they do, no matter how good it is or not, you think all of it is bad, then you are stupid. And I don't care if you are close to me either. If you don't have your own opinions and you just listen to either the mainstream media or what only one side thinks and don't even think for yourself, then yes, you are stupid. And I mean that sincerely. And honestly, it's becoming an epidemic to me, right? It's becoming just an epidemic. And I think maybe 90% of America at this point has become stupid. to that degree, right? So yeah, I just
in front of our very eyes?
that's
No,
it.
it's not fucking fear mongering. It's telling you guys exactly what's going on in the world right now and how badly it's going to keep spreading if we don't do something about it. Meta is the biggest shit company right now that is advocating for age verification across the world. I already
Keep in mind, Meta used to be Facebook, and Facebook is notorious, in fact, for selling your information.
made a video talking about the fact that they were essentially lobbying for Canada as a whole country, to have age verification just because they believe that it would be best. And Meta is right now going up against Apple and Google, which obviously operate the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store, their own app store, and they obviously
The fact that bit large companies like this can even lobby any government could be illegal as well. There should be zero lobby available, you know, because large companies will have the money to lobby. Small companies that are actually affected don't have the capital to actually lobby anything. And yet, whatever happens only benefits the people lobbying, right? Whatever happens in law or whatever happens to be passed in law always benefits the corporations, always benefits people lobbying. And nobody who isn't a huge company will be able to lobby. And if you're a smaller company trying to lobby for one thing, but a large company with so much more wealth, as maybe even more capital in the lobbying than you have in general, they will just outpay you, right? They'll just give more money, and the official will be like, well, you didn't give me that much money, so I can't do what you want me to do. Sorry. So I just don't understand why it's legal. I just don't. Lobbying should not be as it is right now, right? Especially since the government officials, sometimes they're even on the boards of these companies. So yeah, it's the shit show, honestly. It's the elite being elite and not wanting to at all be hampered by the common man, the working class, if you will.
don't want to have age verification, because these two are making the argument of why the hell should all the responsibility fall under us? What about Meta? What the fuck are you guys
Oh yeah,
doing to
alphabet.
make sure that age verification is going through on your end as well? Meta has pushed for app stores to take on greater responsibility over minors' online experiences. And it's funny that Meta, the company behind Facebook, says that Facebook is one of the shittiest websites in the world. But anyways,
See,
Apple and Google have pushed
I
for a
just said
lighter
that.
touch approach that it requires app developers such as Meta to turn on safety features for minors. And then all these different states, more than half the states in the United States right now, have some type of age verification that has already passed or will pass. And this is getting to the point where this is not just becoming a federal debate, this is becoming a global debate, with all these different countries looking at what the UK did, looking at what Australia did, and they're like, you know what, that's a good idea. We need to protect these kids. Yeah, how are you going to protect those kids? By
Yeah.
collecting all their information? Wow, well, great job. What a fucking great way to protect those kids, huh? Meanwhile, when we were growing up during the social media time, or for those of us who were around when social media didn't even exist yet, did the government have to hold the parents' hands and make them do their damn job? No, the parents would do their own fucking job. Parents and guardians would do their job, take care of their kids, raise them right.
See, this is just the exact take I had
We wouldn't
yesterday,
even have
or not yesterday, but the last stream. I literally said this. Like, I lived in a time where, or I grew up in a time where, um, surveillance wasn't as deep, especially deep, and yeah, well, our parents would do their job and parent you. Um, I'd be on basically a timer every day for how much I could be on a screen. Now, of course, I had always trying to get around that, but to a certain degree, I wasn't ever able to be online playing games or whatever for the entire day, which even to this day I still don't, because I got other shit to do, man. I'm not busy, but I just times don't want to, and especially in today's FPS world, um, I'm just sick and tired of games in general. And there are a couple games that I'm actually, really do like, but like say COD. Fuck no, I haven't played COD. I uninstalled it. Um, I'm just currently bored with that series. Um, the only thing I really even play right now is Battlefield. That's because I have a friend that plays it, and um, I do play Hoi 4 though. So
Have to worry about the concept of submitting ID to social media because these parents actually used to do their jobs before. But now, I mean, all these parents in these fucking polls, it makes me so angry. They're actually sitting here thinking that this is a good idea. Should be up to parents, should be at fucking 100% in this type of poll. But at the end of the day, these companies literally want people to actually have the government babysit everything that their kids do and hold the parent's hand and walk them through parenthood. Good on Tim Cook, Apple's CEO, for trying to stand against this. I mean, who knows? Maybe he has some ulterior motive of his own, but regardless, the fact that he's trying to speak
he
out
might,
against this is
he
really good
might,
for us and it's really good for
but
people
even if he
who are
did,
advocating for privacy in
he's
general. Some of
still
the points that he
advocating
had
for
made
it.
during his
So
visit was when he was telling lawmakers that device level age assurance proposals should not require the collection of sensitive data like birth certificates or social security numbers, and that parents should be trusted to provide the age of a child when creating a child's account. That's literally how it's always.
I mean, if you have to put your birth certificate and social security number as well as your ID, then all a party who is a malicious party would need to do is just not release any of the files at all and just try to stay as silent as possible in their networks. And they'd have full access to all of this information that they can store themselves. And obviously, they're not going to be needing to be, what is it? They don't have to secure anything. The Nobody would even know. But they can sell that data if they wanted to, or in fact, they could just use it themselves to steal all these people's identities, right? And of course, the government is not making sure that these hackers are storing it in a safe location because they shouldn't have in the first place. But if they are quiet about being in these companies, huge companies' servers, then they could easily just take all this information and use it for themselves to steal so many identities. So there's an issue with that, right? Now, eventually they'd probably get caught, but after how long, right?
Always been and has always worked just fine. Any data used for determining ages should not be kept by app stores or developers, according to Apple, and it is. I mean, we have already seen many companies like YouTube and Discord and all that actually keep that
Yeah, like
type
I
of
already
data,
said,
and then Discord
Discord was,
especially ends up getting hacked and all
yeah,
that data gets
Discord
leaked.
was
Cook
hacked
also
already.
emphasized that age assurance efforts should focus on ensuring parents creating an account for adults, plus he suggests that parents should decide whether a child's age range is shared with developers. And they also talk about the letter that Apple's global head of privacy had sent them, saying that this could threaten the privacy of all users by forcing millions of adults to surrender their private information for the simple act of downloading an app. That's the crazy part about this, and that's what I've talked about before in other videos. This is all about downloading an app off the App Store, off the Google Play Store, something that a parent can easily see on their kids' phones, something that a parent can easily moderate and make sure that their kids aren't downloading any crazy.
I mean, this point, you can even set their phone up as a child's phone, right? Um, so you even have more opportunity to understand what your child's doing, right? I don't I've never set it up. I've never set a child's phone up, but I would imagine that there's always a ability for the parent to see everything on it, no matter what. Especially nowadays, where teachers are using essentially mass surveillance tools against their children, seeing everything they're doing on the computers, whether they're at their house or whether they're at school. They can find where they've been to at all times, even except for private windows like Google Chrome's private browser. They can't see where you've necessarily been there, but they can see if you've been on it, right? And of course, they still not able to go to any um, website that you know would be inappropriate, like adult websites. You still couldn't necessarily be on those kind of websites, but you could essentially look things up, or you could go to websites your teacher doesn't want you to be on. But at the same time, your teacher can see everybody's screen as well. They can watch your screen too, right? So it really doesn't do much. Now, when I was in high school, none of that was a thing, and in fact, um, I was at the point where I was in a select little group of people that had escalation privileges. We all changed the password of our administrator login, essentially allowing us to have full reign over the computer. Now, come to find out, uh, I didn't get in trouble for it, but they did question why the password wasn't the same. And I had to take it in for something I couldn't fix myself. And they were asking why I had a different password. And this is when I found out the password for everybody's administrator was literally like in their desk. This was in the library, in the library technician or whatever. You take it to them, and the password was literally in their desk. Right? They just slid something out. There was a sticky note, like a sticky note with the password on it. It was so funny to me, but no, I just had the password changed, and I downloaded Tor, of course, and was able to literally go anywhere on that computer that I wanted to, right? So, essentially, I made that my personal computer, because I could do fucking anything on it that I wanted to do, and yeah, there's a small group of people that were able to do that, and in fact, I can't verify this because I never found it, but there was a kid that supposedly was able to see every camera that the school had through the file system. I could never find it myself, so I'm not sure if they were, into somebody else's, you know, somebody else's computer. But my school laptop, I couldn't find that information. So I cannot verify that, but that would make sense if he was in an actual administrator's computer. So who knows? But yeah, there was a certain select group of people in my high school that were doing that stuff. Um, it was great, honestly. And I know that today you could do something similar, right? You could get escalation privileges and kind of circumvent that, right? But children in elementary will not have that kind of opportunity. And besides, you could just use your own computer at that point. But if you couldn't afford your own computer, then no. But yeah, it's a there are ways always around stuff like that, but most people will not know it, right? 99% of the people will not know it or care to do it. Um, so there's always that 1% that know how to do it and want to do it. Maybe people know how to do it but don't want to do it, but there are people who will do it. So just because they don't want to be watched, they want privacy. I just did it because it was cool, right? And of course, it was very private as well because I could literally go into any website I wanted to. You could go onto adult websites if you wanted to as well, and they would have zero idea, right? And even if they did get into the administrator account, which again, you changed it so they couldn't, but they could actually um just guess do the same thing and then see that you had tore it like, oh, so you did change it. No, no, no. They never were able to I think I only had Tor installed on a USB or something, so I never actually had it installed on the actual computer just because, you know, if they ever did get into the administrator account as well, they couldn't be like, "You had Tor, why?" You know what I'm saying? So, I know I didn't do too much on it. I just know that I did have that power, essentially.
The apps. But no, instead, what do these fucking parents want? They want the government to try to mandate this and try to force everybody to submit ID age verification.
And what's even funnier as well, my mom, she is a teacher, so this is why I know a lot of the things that are going on today, because she's told me, but, um and she's a pretty strict teacher from what I heard. I never obviously had her, but from what I heard, she was very strict, and I think I can see it as well sometimes, but, um, she definitely made that at home too. So, that's kinda why I was definitely rebellious as well. Um, I she wanted I don't know if you know what Life 360 is, but she wanted me to be on it, and she didn't really let me do a lot of things, right? If I said I was gonna be somewhere, I had to be there and nowhere else, which I can understand to a certain degree, but I don't want you knowing a lot of things like that, you know what I'm saying? Um, so I just didn't. So I found a way to either I didn't necessarily have to have a different phone. I did it on I had an Android at the time. I didn't really know a way to do it on iPhone, but on Android, you could just change your location. So I just literally downloaded an app or something. I don't remember what it was, but you could literally just change your location to be wherever you wanted to be, and it would show that on Line 360 too, right? So that's literally what I did. I set it to be at the place I was supposed to be and just fuck off somewhere else and get into not necessarily trouble, but just do things that my mom would not approve of, right? She just would not approve of it. But I did it because I just wanted not only privacy, but my mom wouldn't approve of it at all. So it kind of forced me to do that kind of stuff. And that's why today, even, I still have that mindset of I want privacy. And if you really think about it, the government is kind of like your mom. Not literally, but kind of, right? And you don't want your mom snooping into everything you're doing, right? So why would you want the government doing that too, you know?
It is just ridiculous. We're told lawmakers that there are better proposals that help keep kids safe without requiring millions of people to turn over their personal information. And obviously, maybe Apple has some selfish motives behind this too, because obviously they don't want to be legally responsible for verifying a user's age. But regardless, I mean, they're still fighting for privacy concerns, and that's what my main concern is over here right now. Some of the age verification features that Apple has introduced are simpler tools for parents to oversee children's Apple accounts, like new age categories for app content, the declared age range API that provides developers with a privacy forward way to ensure kids aren't exposed to in app content meant for adults, and things like that. Apple has already argued that it already has extensive parental.
Now, I will say there is a huge problem with that in general as well. Like YouTube will allow ads that are explicitly explicit, I guess. Yeah. They are obviously very much for these adult websites. So why is that allowed? I also think just the internet in general has become more okay with adult content and stuff, which is not a good thing. Um, especially with the amount of stories you will hear about how people are addicted to that kind of stuff. Personally, I'm not. In fact, I've never actually been addicted to anything in my life, maybe except for my phone, I guess. But other than that, any like legal drugs I've ever done, never addicted to. I could go forever without doing it. Even if I did it for like a month straight, I'd never get addicted at the end of the day. So I don't know how that is really an issue. You know what I'm saying? So I don't ever have a problem with addiction and can't really fully understand how people can be addicted, but I understand that it is a thing. It just doesn't happen to me. But that even applies to things like adult content, right? I don't, I'm not addicted to that at all, right? But you would hear a lot of stories of people who can't, for some reason, get around it. They they are gooning for like 7 times a day, which is an absolute absurd amount, right? Absolutely absurd amount. But yeah, it's you'll hear stories like that, and it's like, we should probably not have such a culture where that's okay, but at the same time, we shouldn't completely get rid of it either, if you know what I'm saying, because free speech and all, right? Now, you could make the argument of the kids, but at the same time, just like this here, it's saying it's for the kids. It's not for the kids. Um, it starts out for the kids, but once that becomes normalized and it's like, well, we could just do just a little bit more, and that's still for the kids, but just a little bit more, and it's like, okay, now we're getting to the point where it's not just for the kids, is it? Like, no, it is. I promise it is, but it's not. You know what I'm saying? They're lying to you. So there, we got to that point probably by now, right? We're definitely to that point. And if we're not to that point just yet, we will be there shortly because none of this was an issue before COVID. I think honestly, a lot of the issues in today were not here before COVID. Um, in fact, if we just went back to about 2015 and just kind of changed stuff from there, then we wouldn't be in the situation we are now, right? We wouldn't be in the same situation of I have an issue with privacy concerns or nobody can, because I think that's kind of the social change where people started to become too woke. They were like, well, we don't really like how people are not woke enough, and then they go in the complete opposite direction and become too woke. They completely overcorrect, and that is a huge issue to me, honestly. 'Cause I am not politically correct, um, and I don't want to be either. Like, I won't purposely bring something up per se. I don't hate someone just because they're trans or they're gay or something, right? I don't hate someone just because of that, but I don't want you to keep saying that in my face. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't care if you are. Just stop telling me you are. You feel me? Like stop praising the high winds for that. I don't care. Just live your life normally. But now it's become normalized to not just be like that, but then also try to be an advocate for inclusivity, which I absolutely fucking hate. I cannot stand it just because it is so annoying. I don't need to know all this, right? And besides, most of the issues they're talking about aren't even issues, right? Especially with black people being shot by cops or unarmed black people being shot by cops. You would think with all the hubbub about it, there's 100,000 people who are unarmed getting shot by cops in 1 year, in one city, in fact. But no, it's not, I don't even think it's ever been double digits. So, and most of the time it's either accidental or it's because they were trying to act like they had a gun or something. So it does not happen to be like that. And nowadays, cops are becoming far too soft about stuff like that. And I don't want cops to be too enforcement about things, but it's become now a culture of, well, now the cops can't shoot people who are actually intending on killing them, right? So it's again, it's just swung the complete opposite, wrong direction, completely overcompensating for an issue that was never an issue in the first place, right? Just because social landscape has changed that drastically. And I think we're kind of cooling it down a little bit, sure. But now there's another issue of the society is so split and fractured that the government is now able to exploit that and try to get mass surveillance to be a thing, which obviously I'm fully against. So, yeah.
Controls with screen time, and the legislation would require to collect excessive amounts of information from all users just to verify the age of children. Texas is already going through, and they've already passed laws starting January 1st, 2026. Apple users located in Texas will need to confirm whether they are 18 years or older when creating an Apple account. Apple will need to verify age and parental identity, and the App Store will need to provide additional information to parents. Hopefully, this one does get challenged, though, because I have already talked about this in multiple videos before. Texas is actually getting
That's just
sued by the
absolutely insane.
CCIA for violating the First Amendment with a law like that. Shout out to Control CAD for making.
Yeah, I mean, some of these countries that are enacting this don't have the First Amendment, right? But America does, right? America has that for everybody. Unless you're a legal citizen, I don't believe you should have protections in the Constitution if you're illegally here and you have not even tried to legally get into here. So there is an issue there, but everybody in America who is here legally and or at least is trying to be here legally, they should have all those rights. And yeah, I mean, the Fourth Amendment right, the Second Amendment right, especially, and the First Amendment right. Most importantly, the Amendment right. And that's kind of why it's number one, right? So, yeah, whenever you get to legal stuff, just know at least your uh your your Bill of Rights. Just at least know that. Especially the Fifth Amendment. If you don't know a Fifth Amendment, well, you should. You really, really should. Especially since cops will in fact lie to you. So, always plead your Fifth Amendment. Or, I mean, even if you did nothing wrong, still plead your Fifth Amendment because they will try to find something wrong. Even if it's not true, they will try. And I know this because, again, I've already explained the story of my car being impounded for a supposed hit and run when this didn't happen. But they kept trying to force me. They were cussing me out too. And this is when I lived in the hood, so I think there's something there as well, but it's kinda like they were being very, very they were not treating me as like a citizen, they were treating me as a suspect without anything but circumstantial evidence, and the fact that they've never been able to actually prove it kind of validates that as well, but I know that they they will never get in trouble for it, you know, because oh, there was enough circumstantial evidence or stuff like that, or, just you being in the hood or whatever. That's enough to where the cops could think that way, even though that's not how you should treat a human being at all. Because I wasn't a suspect. Well, in their mind, I was a suspect, but even if I was a suspect, you shouldn't be treating them like that unless they're trying to pose a certain threat to you. At that point, yeah, I can understand why you would be a little mad, but no, I was just chilling with my dog outside before I was going to work, and I had no gun on me. I didn't I didn't pose any threat whatsoever, and yet they were still treating me like shit. But that's kind of always been my case with cops for the most part. But like I said, I know some cops who are good, right? I just think a lot of them are not. I'm not saying ACAB, but I'm just saying not all cops are good. So, um, I think I'm gonna wrap it up here for today. I got stuff to do, and yeah. Again, nobody's even been here, so it's not like I'm saying goodbye to anybody. But um, I will be probably wrapping it up today. If I see another video or so, I might come back today, but I probably won't, and probably not this weekend either. So I will see y'all later. Well, not y'all.